This video is a demonstration of how to deploy a Mojaloop Lab using infrastructure as code. What is being demonstrated here is in the process of being donated. In this video, we will go through all the stages. I will highlight the specific point of interest, and I will speed through some of the lesser interesting stages. In real time, this whole process would take between 2 to 3 hours. This demonstration will be done in 5 minutes. To perform a deployment of the lab, there are 3 main stages. First, download the code. Second, edit the configuration file to set that lab's specific parameters. Finally, we run the CD to perform the deployment. To keep the demonstration clear and short, some of the pre-steps have been done already, specifically creating the tenant and tenant level services. For example, the GitLab server for hosting the infrastructure as code repository has already been created. Creation of these tenant level services are included in the infrastructure as code that is being donated. First, download the infrastructure as code repository. Included in the repository is a documentation you need to perform the deployment. I now set up my editor so I can set the parameters. This view is of the code editor I will use to set the parameters. The highlighted area on the right is the documentation I will follow. The highlighted area on the left is the configuration file I will edit. Next, following the documentation, set the parameters for this environment. In this demonstration, we will need to set the tenant, environment, Slack notification channel, and the Nexus server. Here, you can see that integration into Slack is included, allowing for alarms to be sent to the channel that you set up. We edit the configuration file, commit the changes, and push them to the GitLab server. This triggers an initial validation check to make sure everything is in place for a successful deployment. Before we perform the deployment, I will quickly highlight the structure of the pipeline. It is made up of 8 stages. These 5 stages are involved in the deployment. The other stages are for code validation, to make modifications to an existing deployment, or to destroy an existing deployment. The video will now quickly run through performing the deployment. This is done by clicking on each of the job's play buttons and waiting until it is complete. At the time of the recording, the prepared tests job would return 6 failures. This should be ignored, as made clear in the documentation. Since this recording has been made, these ignorable failures have been fixed. We then perform the golden path tests. Again, there are some failures expected, as made clear in the documentation. These have also been fixed since the recording was performed. To be clear, the donated code will have 0 test failures. Included in the deployment are dashboards for all the resources created. This dashboard shows the resource usage for the whole cluster while the golden path tests were being performed. This dashboard shows the usage of a specific component in Mojaloop, the central ledger. And that brings the demonstration to an end.